Part 4.33 The Women, An-Nisa. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Sufi Essence, call to perseverance and hope and struggle. We continue our profound exploration of Surah An-Nisa, the women. Having discussed the divine guidance on prayer in a state of fear and the concessions Allah has granted His believers, we now turn to a verse that offers a powerful and timeless lesson in spiritual perseverance. This verse, number 104, is a divine declaration that serves as an antidote to despair and a source of profound spiritual strength for the believer. It directly addresses the psychological and emotional state of those in conflict, reminding them of their unique advantage, a hope in Allah that their adversaries lack. The verse challenges the believer to reflect on their own level of commitment and to aspire to the highest ranks of spiritual distinction. It teaches us that faith is not a passive state, but an active, dynamic force that demands sacrifice and effort, and that this effort is met with an eternal and magnificent reward. The verse stands as a profound theological pillar of the Islamic faith, demonstrating the absolute perfection of Allah's justice, which is never burdened by the limitations of His creation. The verse's beauty lies in its concise yet comprehensive nature, offering a profound sense of hope and spiritual redemption for those who, through no fault of their own, are unable to fulfill a divine command. It is a testament to the fact that Allah's law is a living, breathing reality that accounts for the complexities of human life and the sincerity of the human heart. Verse, and do not be weak in seeking the enemy. If you are in pain, then they too are in pain as you are, and you hope from Allah what they do not hope. And Allah is ever all-knowing, all-wise. Kanzul Iman, the women, 4-104. Context of revelation. This verse was revealed to address a crucial psychological moment in the history of the early Muslim community, specifically after the Battle of Uhud. The believers had suffered significant losses and were physically and mentally exhausted. They had endured pain, grief, and hardship. In this state of weariness, some were hesitant to pursue the enemy, who had also suffered casualties and were in a similar state of physical and mental exhaustion. This verse came to uplift their spirits and reinforce their morale. It provides a strategic and spiritual injunction to the believers, reminding them of their spiritual advantage. The context is essential as it shows the immense care and detail of the divine law. The verse was revealed to address a practical need for the early believers, especially during military expeditions and long-distance travel. The question of how to perform prayer in such circumstances arose, particularly when there was a threat from hostile groups. The verse provides a clear legal ruling, allowing for the shortening of prayer, qasr, under specific conditions of fear and travel. This shows the adaptability of Islamic law to different situations. The verse served as a source of immense comfort and reassurance, preventing despair and strengthening the faith of those who were unable to act physically, but whose hearts were with Allah and His Messenger. Explanation. This verse is a profound spiritual teaching that reveals the depth of Allah's mercy and justice. The verse begins with a clear and unequivocal statement of hope. It may be that Allah will pardon them. This phrase is a spiritual relief for the hearts of the weak and oppressed. The use of the word may is not a sign of uncertainty, but a spiritual teaching that signifies that the ultimate outcome is in the hands of Allah, and that the path to forgiveness is always open to those who sincerely seek it. This is a crucial theological point for a PhD-level analysis. The divine pardon afeth is a separate and distinct concept from divine forgiveness maghfirah. Pardon implies the complete erasure of the sin, as if it never happened. It is an act of wiping the slate clean. Forgiveness implies covering the sin so that it is not exposed on the day of judgment. The verse's use of both of these concepts is a powerful spiritual teaching, signifying that Allah's grace is multifaceted and all-encompassing. It promises not only the covering of their shortcomings, but a complete pardon for their inability to act, provided their hearts were sincere. The verse then details the specific reasons for this hope, and Allah is ever pardoning, forgiving. This phrase is a powerful spiritual teaching. It signifies that the individual is not only physically unable to act, but is also in a state of spiritual and intellectual darkness, having no knowledge of the path to freedom or the means to achieve it. This is a profound recognition of the external and internal states of a person, revealing that Allah's judgment is not superficial, but is based on a complete and comprehensive understanding of the human condition. The verse is a powerful reminder that sincerity of intention is the ultimate criterion for divine judgment. A person who sincerely desires to act in the way of Allah, but is physically unable to do so, is in a state of spiritual striving. The verse also serves as a warning to those who may be feigning powerlessness to escape their spiritual duties. The word truly in the previous verse serves as a spiritual and ethical safeguard, ensuring that the divine exception is not abused. This is a spiritual teaching that tells us that a person's spiritual state is a reflection of their willingness to stand up for justice. The verse concludes by providing a powerful and merciful insight, showing that those who are truly helpless will not be subject to the same severe judgment as those who are spiritually complacent. Sufi perspective. From a Sufi perspective, this verse is a lesson in the spiritual reality of effort and intention. The Sufi understands that the true struggle is the greater struggle against the ego. The physical act of migration is a manifestation of this internal spiritual battle. The individuals who are truly powerless are in a state of spiritual perfection. They have surrendered their will to Allah and accepted their state of powerlessness with grace and patience. The Sufi understands that true spiritual progress requires constant effort and a willingness to sacrifice one's comfort, desires, and attachments. The verse's promise of, except for those who are truly powerless, is a profound teaching. It tells the Sufi that the true measure of a person is not in their ability to perform an external act, but in the sincerity of their heart. A person who is physically unable to act, but has a heart filled with the desire to strive in the way of Allah, is of a higher rank than a healthy person who is passive and complacent. The verse's recognition of their spiritual sincerity is a testament to the divine wisdom. The Sufi sees the worldly life as a place of trial and striving, and those who embrace this reality are the ones who are elevated in the sight of Allah. The Sufi path is one of absolute reliance on Allah, a state known as tawakkul. The truly powerless are in a state of perfect tawakkul, for they have no one to rely on but Allah. This state of absolute dependency is a means of spiritual purification and a way to draw closer to the divine. The verse, therefore, is not a message of despair but a profound teaching on the spiritual potential of helplessness. It reveals that Allah's mercy is a living and active force that responds to the sincerity of the heart, even when the body is unable to act. The Sufi seeks to embody the names of Allah, and the names Al, a few, and Al-Ghafur are a powerful inspiration. The Sufi seeks to pardon and forgive others, even those who have wronged them, in a small reflection of Allah's own infinite mercy. This act of spiritual emulation is a path to divine nearness, and this verse is a perfect example of this principle. The Ziya-ul Quran interpretation, the scholarly commentary in Ziya-ul Quran by Pir Muhammad Karam Shah Al-Azhari sheds light on the immense spiritual significance of this verse. He explains that this verse serves as a profound reassurance for the community of believers, especially for those who are living in lands of oppression and were genuinely unable to migrate. He notes that the verse provides a clear and uncompromising distinction between those who are truly unable to act and those who are spiritually lazy. Pir Muhammad Karam Shah Al-Azhari highlights the profound psychological wisdom of the verse, explaining that it perfectly captures the state of a person whose faith is active and whose allegiance is to Allah's cause rather than to their own comfort. He argues that the verse introduces a humane and just system that honors sincerity and commitment. The commentary posits that Allah, in His perfect wisdom, established a law so clear that it would force the community to recognize that the path to true spiritual wealth lies in active striving and sacrifice, not in complacency. Pir Muhammad Karam Shah Al-Azhari also emphasizes the comprehensive nature of the word struggle, which includes all forms of sincere effort, from military to social and intellectual. The commentary argues that we should not question the wisdom of Allah's commands, but accept them as an expression of His perfect knowledge and wisdom, which uncovers the hidden truths of the human heart. The commentary on this verse is particularly rich in its legal and ethical insights. He argues that the Quranic ruling is a departure from the vengeful tribal laws of the pre-Islamic era. He explains that the verse introduces a humane and just system that prioritizes human life and reconciliation. He points out that the Quranic provision for the family to forgive the compensation as charity is a unique feature that elevates the act from a mere legal transaction to a profound spiritual one. He argues that this provision is a testament to the Quran's profound wisdom in understanding the human heart, its capacity for both anger and forgiveness. Muhammad Karim Shah al-Azhari meticulously analyzes the legal implications of the different scenarios in the verse, the believer killed from a hostile people versus a people with a treaty. He explains that these distinctions are not arbitrary, but are a reflection of a comprehensive and just legal framework that considers all facets of a situation, including political and social realities. He highlights how the freeing of a slave is always a part of the atonement, regardless of the victim's allegiance, underscoring the universal value of human life and the spiritual act of liberation. The commentary argues that we should not question the wisdom of Allah's commands, but accept them as an expression of His perfect knowledge and wisdom, which uncovers the hidden truths of the human heart. Hadith. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught, "Verily, actions are by intentions, and verily, every man will have what he intended." Sahih al-Bukhari. This hadith beautifully illustrates the core spiritual principle of the verse. It provides a simple yet profound teaching that places the sincerity of a person's intention at the very pinnacle of Islamic law and morality. The hadith, in conjunction with the Quranic verse, affirms that true faith is an active state of being that includes a profound reverence for the life of every human being, and especially the life of a fellow believer. This hadith underscores the divine order of justice, where the most fundamental right, the right to life, is the first to be addressed in the final reckoning. This hadith provides the spiritual key to understanding the verse on accidental killing. The Quran differentiates between intentional and accidental killing, and the basis of this differentiation is the intention. If the killer did not intend to kill, the spiritual and legal consequences are different. The hadith provides the foundational principle for this divine distinction. It teaches that the spiritual worth of an act is tied to the intention behind it. In the case of accidental killing, while the action is tragic and requires legal and spiritual atonement, the lack of malicious intent means the person is not branded as a murderer in the spiritual sense. Another relevant hadith highlights the spiritual loss incurred by the one who does not strive. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught, "Whoever dies without having fought for the sake of Allah, or having the desire to do so, dies upon a branch of hypocrisy." Sahih Muslim. This hadith adds a layer of spiritual depth to the Quranic verse. It teaches that the act of remaining passive is not just a neutral choice, but a spiritual one that can have grave consequences. It signifies a spiritual lack of commitment and a hidden disease of the heart. The hadith provides a clear and powerful teaching that a person who is not willing to strive for Allah's cause has, in a profound spiritual sense, left the protection and mercy of their own religion. This spiritual excommunication is the real punishment, and all the others mentioned in the verse are its natural and inevitable consequences. And with this profound verse, our exploration of Allah's divine wisdom concludes for today. May this spiritual guidance illuminate our hearts and minds, filling them with the light of faith and understanding. And may Allah grant us the wisdom to live by the truths revealed in His sacred book, applying its teachings to every aspect of our lives. May He accept our sincere efforts and forgive our shortcomings, showering His blessings upon us, our families, and our communities. May He guide us on the straight path and grant us a noble end, and may His peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you all. May our hearts remain steadfast in His remembrance, and may our lives be a testament to His love and mercy. May we always strive to be among those who are active in His way, sacrificing our comfort for His pleasure. May our knowledge be a source of benefit for ourselves and for all of humanity. May Allah elevate our spiritual ranks and grant us a place in the highest of heavens. And may we be counted among His blessed servants forever in His grace.